Hello, welcome to our first and probably only Live with Lias of the 2022 session. I'm so thrilled to be joined by my dear friend, Senator Reuven Carlyle, the chair of the Environment, Energy, and Technology Committee. I'm Marko Liias, of course, this year chairing our Senate Transportation Committee. And today's a big day. We rolled out our huge Move Ahead Washington 16-year, $17 billion proposal to transform transportation in Washington. And I wanted to get on the line with the person who I think is the godfather of Move Ahead Washington, because we wouldn't be here without the Climate Commitment Act, to talk about what got us to this point, but also what a pivotal moment this is for transportation and climate, how we're merging the lanes on these issues and really making a difference. So Senator Reuven Carlyle from America's 36th District, welcome to Live with Lias. Why don't you introduce yourself, since our hip audience may not know who you are?
You bet. Thank you, Senator Liias. I'm Reuven Carlyle, representing the good and gracious, honorable, noble, passionate, progressive, and entrepreneurial and spirited people of America's 36th legislative district, which is widely and objectively known worldwide as the very heart and soul of Seattle. I am so fired up to be with you today. It's such an incredible honor. Listen, for so many years, citizen activists in transportation and climate and so many other areas have stepped up and said, it's time to stop thinking in silos. It's time to think holistically about sustainability on this planet. It's time to think about transportation and climate as one, environmental responsibility and sustainability, and environmental justice and equity as one. That's the fundamental driver of this fabulous package from Marko. It is such a profound step forward on every level. We've taken Climate Commitment Act money, we're the only state in the nation to have a new economy-wide cap and invest carbon pricing tool, which basically makes those polluters, like our big industrial plants that make aluminum and timber and all kinds of infrastructure, to pay in order to reduce their emissions dramatically. We're going to take those dollars and we're going to translate them right into transit, into young people, into equity, environmental justice, and so many other fabulous areas. And that's what we're here to talk about tonight.
And we're spending a lot of time talking about how we use those proceeds from the Climate Commitment Act, which is where we are in 2022. But I want to just rewind the tape a little bit and say, what brought Reuven Carlyle, a tech entrepreneur? I think of you from your work on the tax code, on higher ed. What brought you to the climate space? What motivated you to bring the climate commitment? And it wasn't an easy task. What gave you that fire inside to get that bill to the finish line?
Yeah, thanks so much. I think, like a lot of people, for me, it was my kids. My kids I have 4 children. My youngest is 15, and I've got a 20, 22, and a 24-year-old. And about 10 years ago, they just sat me down and had the talk and just said, what are you using your unbelievable opportunity of public service for? And I just realized that climate was the work that I had to get deeply engaged in, much more seriously. So I really studied. I got excited to learn deeply about carbon markets and how important pricing carbon is. And I just really got serious about taking that to the next level. And so it was all my kids, 100% my family, and looking at this world. But ultimately, I came to believe that if we didn't have a market-based carbon pricing system that was real, we just weren't going to have the money. To put a price on carbon, of course, requires dealing with the reality of pollution at both the source side as well as the investment side. So that was the driver for me.
And so we passed the bill last year. It was a huge accomplishment, but we're used to working in the state legislature, making policy for the state of Washington, making our communities better. Then you went to Glasgow, to the International Climate Conference. And did folks there have anything to say about our new policy?
It was simply unbelievable. I can't even tell you. I had the great honor to be one of the very few state legislators in the nation. And when I was in Glasgow, there were officials from Canada and Norway, from the Nordic countries, all over, and from UK, and Spain and Portugal and countries all over the world, they not only knew what Washington State had done and was doing, but they recognized that the Pacific Coast, the partnership between British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, and California was historic, both in terms of carbon pricing, but really the clean fuel standard, our work on hydrofluorocarbons, our work on commercial buildings. They were so up to speed and so aware and so deeply in tune with our work that they see us as really one of the thought leading regions of the world. So it was an amazing experience. I made some wonderful relationships, and I was really inspired by the work to decarbonize tough sectors like maritime, aviation, energy storage, long haul trucking, utilities, things like that. So we really have come a long way, and we're really seen on the global stage as a real thought leader.
Well, now that we have, this significant new resource in Move Ahead, we've got $5.4 billion programmed from these climate initiatives. There's a temptation by a lot of lawmakers to sort of use this opportunity to just go kind of buy their pet projects. The climate link is one thing, but we'll just go do business as usual. And we've said really here, that's not acceptable. There is no business as usual. Every dollar we spend has to be reducing emissions. And I know you and I've worked on a couple of projects in the 36th and near your district. Do you want to highlight kind of for your community, what does climate friendly transportation policy look like for your constituents? What are the investments as you're looking at this? You're saying this is exactly what we need to be doing in this space.
Yeah, what a great question. I mean, look, I'll give you just an amazing symbolic representation of your point and of this work. Aurora 99 is just a massive scar that goes across the city of Seattle and beyond. I think everyone knows in their heart, not just constituents in the immediate area, but people really know that there's something different possible, that we could envision a different way of being where there's not just urbanism relative to parks and access to schools, but also slowing down traffic, engaging in trees and pedestrians and walkability in a really integrated way where transit's at the core, but we integrate in so that cars can get where they need to go as appropriate, and freight and arterial are a part of it, but that it's much more holistic and thoughtful, and it ties in density. That's the vision. This package that Marko's driven, that you've driven, is $50 million to invest in a modest area of Aurora so that we can make that investment impactful. So we're going to work with the community. We're going to work with communities of color, the social justice community, this community advocates and small businesses to really get that sense of design of what could be possible. So that's a great example. The second one that's so important is the whole Ballard corridor. We have just a huge maritime sector, as everyone knows. We just love the modest, the industrial base of our city. It's part of the vibrancy. It's part of the grit. It's part of a healthy ecosystem. So we need to support that too. So we're talking about integrating in that same vision in a much more holistic way, all the way from Ballard, all the way into Interbay, into the city. So those are two specific examples where it brings alive this next generation of integrated thinking about sustainability, climate, and transportation.
So the other piece I'm super thrilled about in terms of kind of visionary, where are we modeling what we've seen our European partners do, is high-speed rail. When we talk about high-speed rail here in the Northwest, people look at us like we're talking about Mars, like we're talking about another planet. And you and I were chatting, we did that wonderful walking tour of 99. We said, the founders of Seattle, looked at the city and thought there was one hill too many. So they deleted a hill. They forged a pathway between the Salish Sea and Lake Washington through the Ship Canal. We used to dream big dreams and do big things, and we can argue over whether those were the right things to do at the time. Obviously, a lot of negative impacts as well, but some really big dreams. And I think high-speed rail is one of those dreams that can connect Vancouver, Portland, and Seattle, like we've seen connections in Europe between great European cities that have stronger links. You're transitioning to the next stage of your service to the public. Where's Reuven Carlyle want to go on high-speed rail? What's that vacation destination that you're excited to visit once we build this high-speed rail link here in the region?
I love your passion for high-speed rail because I come from Bellingham, and the proximity to Vancouver is such a fabulous blessing and just a wonderful essence of that community. If you think about a true connection between Vancouver and the key cities between Vancouver and Seattle, and then down to Portland and beyond, think about that deeper sense of connection without the kind of fossil fuel imprint that we see today, and the power and the possibilities, the idea of living in one city and working a couple days a week in another, and just having that interconnectedness. And I go back to that word that you and I have talked about so much, Marko, was just that holistic reality check of living life with more intentionality. Doesn't have to be fossil fuel based to get from place to place. We know that kind of high-speed rail is just amazing. So obviously we all want to have the benefits of the vision of a European type of connectivity. There's no reason we can't take that step forward. And your vision to make this a central part of this transportation package is really admirable and really appreciated.
Well, I just can't thank you enough for laying the groundwork. It's been a multiple year journey to get to this place. It's been, you've been in the Senate now for a number of years, and this has really been the culmination of your vision of integrating the conversation around climate so it doesn't happen over in one committee or in one corner, but it's at the center of everything we're doing. We've achieved that mission. I think Move Ahead Washington really encapsulates that kind of bold, transformational vision with climate at the center of it. And we couldn't be here without Climate Commitment Act, without the Clean Energy Transformation Act, without all the steps we've laid to get here. So on this launch day of Move Ahead, we've got 30 days to get it passed. But I'm so thrilled to have you on this journey with us. I'm so excited at the investments we're making in Seattle and beyond. And I just wanted to say thank you for the partnership and for what we've been able to do in this space together. And I know you won't be in the Senate next year, so I had to get at least one opportunity to get you on Live with Liias, because we're going to miss you a lot around here.
Well, I appreciate that. And your leadership is a real reflection of this new generation partnership that we all have. The idea that the work that Senator Saldana has done on the HEAL Act, environmental justice and equity, and how that integrates in our climate work, the carbon pricing and the other 100% clean energy work that I've done. And then your vision of integrated in the electrification of the transportation sector and so much more. That's what this partnership's about for all of us. And there's so many people who have come together to make this work. So thank you for your leadership, and thank you for your partnership, and just a real honor to be your partner in service.
We got 4 stars from Tawana Nobles. So of course, Tawana is one of our new rising stars in the Senate, and we're so thrilled she's on transportation and has just been an integral partner. And particularly thinking about, I just want to lift up her story. We got a program in this package that is going to do school-based bike programs and bike education. And this came from conversations with community leaders. And when I shared this with our committee members, this is exactly the kind of work that Senator Nobles is doing outside the Senate, is really connecting kids from communities that don't have access to bikes and helmets and don't have training and support, don't have good infrastructure. She's on the ground making sure that they're connected, that they have these opportunities. And I'm just so inspired to take that lesson, take that community activism, that organic work to make communities better, and really provide the resource to take that statewide to more communities, to more places. So thanks, Tawana, and thanks to so many people for joining us. Thank you, Senator Carlyle. We got to get this bill passed now, though. So let's go get that done, and look forward to seeing you on the floor here soon.
Thanks so much.